welcome back to my channel. The more I grow, actually, the more I realize how little I know. I'm studying in a field where there's always a lot of new things to learn, a lot of new things to know. You always have to know the most recent studies, the most recent research, otherwise you cannot be a good professional. The more I go through those studies, the more I realize how little I know about it all. When you grow, the more you realize that the world you know, the little things you see in this world, it's only a small portion of the world. It's only a small glimpse. The world has so many things, so many cultures, so many different views, so many opinions. There are 7 billion or 8 billion people on Earth. There are as many mindsets, there are as many different views on how life is supposed to be, how life goes. So, and the more I grow, not only through my studies but also through life in general, I feel like the less I know and the smaller I become, in the sense that I realize how big the whole world is. Like, I feel like this is really a transition from, like, when you go from kid, teen to adulthood. As a kid you only see your world, your parents, your family, and then when you become a teenager, it's like your friends, a group of friends, school, and those dynamics. And then when you become an adult, when you travel the world, when you travel to new places, when you live in new places, when you discover other cultures, it becomes very obvious that you are so small in this whole big world. And this is a good reminder for me, because I think the only way we can grow, really, and grow not only like leveling up, but really as a person and being like the best version of ourselves, is by being curious, by being willing and curious enough to discover those other views, those different mindsets. One person I know always says that the best way you can be for something or agree to a certain idea is to know the opposite of it. The more you know about life, the more you understand the different cultures, the more you understand the different views, the different mindset, the different ways of thinking, the more you'll be able to adhere to an idea and be convinced for you that this idea is right for you, and convinced on why the other idea, although it's not a bad one maybe, but although you don't agree with it, you can still understand this other idea. And to me it makes so much sense nowadays, because I grow and I'm like, oh, there are so many things I need to discover, and yet I want to discover the whole wild world. But to some degree you have some limitations that of course you don't want to have, but to some degree you are limited by maybe your financial situation, your money, maybe you're limited by your time, maybe you're limited by your mindset. This is the worst, but maybe you're limited by your own mindset, and those limitations limit you from growing and from becoming your best version. So today I'll give you some tips and advice on how to grow, how to discover this world, how you can realize how rich this world is. So the first advice, and I think this is one of the easiest way, and yet it's the most underrated one, is to read books. Books are so rich. It's a source of wealth. You have no idea what a book can bring you. Like, sometimes there's one sentence in a book that will change a whole idea you had in mind about something, or a whole perception, or a whole new concept that you will discover and be able to implement in your life. Books have this power. I'd suggest to you not only to read self-help books or self-development, because this has its own mindset as well, its own way of thinking. It's like a certain type of people are doing self-development, you know. But I would advise you to read also about history books, fiction, whatever kind of books, but just to open up your mindset, open up your eyes on this world. How different can it be? How different ways of thinking they are, and they were. I think also books about that were written some time ago, it's also good to understand that maybe 10 years ago they had a different way of seeing life. That's my first point, books. Second point is traveling. So traveling of course requires money and time, which maybe you don't have one of them, maybe you don't have the money, maybe you don't have the time, maybe you don't have both. I do believe there's a certain mindset to it. I do believe that it's pretty easy to travel if you're smart about it and take the right decisions. You don't have to go to Hawaii to travel to the best place. You can also go maybe 2 hours away from your place, or take your car and travel with your car or whatever. You'll be able to open up yourself to new cultures, new ways of seeing life. I think through traveling, you get to get out of your comfort zone in the sense that you see people who really think in different ways than you. People really have different ways of doing things around food, around religion, around relationships, around friendships. Like, we live in a world where we think it's all the same because we see it on social media, all the same, it's all the same, it's all the same. People have different ways of thinking, different ways of seeing things. And third tip is really to surround yourself with people that have different ways of thinking. One of my best friends, she's a girl that traveled the whole world. She's lived in so many different places. She speaks 6 languages or more. Like, really, she's very fluent in many languages, and she's very open to different cultures. And always when I talk to her, I get a very different opinion and ways of thinking, because she experienced so much. She knows so much about so many things because she's seen them, she's experienced them, that when I talk to her, I always get a very interesting approach and very wise approach. Relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, your family. It's always very interesting to ask people, oh, what do you think about that? Or I'd be curious to know what you think about money, religion, whatever. And even your parents, like, sometimes they really have interesting opinions on all those subjects.